Hello, everybody. Steve here from The Varied Life, the retired hobby guy who is currently in Korea, living out the best times, the golden years, stretching them out, retiring early. And today, what we're going to end up doing is talking about mastering Lightburn and how to make a multi-layered diorama. I did this before with a couple of smaller versions, and some other people have asked me, hey, how about doing a diorama or a multi-layered picture of some nature, landscape, wolf, bear, deer, some type of thing like that, and how would you do that? That's a very good question. And so what I ended up doing was practicing on Lightburn, and boom, I was able to get what we end up here. What is it over here? Yeah, it's over there. And you can see we've got the mountains, we've got trees, we've got the wolf in the background howling, and then the cabin and some more trees, and then some grass, and it says Rocky Mountains because that's where I came from, was Colorado. But now we're here in Korea, and they still have mountains, and they have trees and grass and all that stuff. I don't think they have wolves here. I think you have to bring those in yourselves. So in Lightbird, we're going to go ahead and show you how to do all this stuff. With that being said, if you hear some tapping, since I live in an apartment building, somebody's doing some work, so I apologize. It is what it is, and it is what it is. So let's go ahead and get jumping into Lightburn. And here we have our Lightburn, and we're going to talk about this. We have our build area. And what I ended up doing is that would actually be the build area, but we're going to just move this up. And this, you would be able to make this on pretty much any size of engraving area for your laser. So if it's big, you could go big or go home, or if it's smaller, kind of like mine, you could even make it, I got like 80 by 80 size, and so I could make it small like this. But we're just going to go over the lessons on how to make this thing. So to start off, let's say we're going to actually do what we have here, which is our example just below me, and we're going to start off with a few things in mind, and one of those things is going to be this right here. So let's kind of take a look at this. We're going to take a look at the picture that I have here, and basically what we're going to end up doing is we're going to divide up our shape into sections. Now you could do it in thirds, you could do it in fourths, kind of depending on how many layers, but this will kind of give you an idea, because if you just start off, you'll find out, like I did, that you'll start stacking things on top of each other, and you'll have to go back and redo them. You'll stack them again. So if you start with kind of some zones of where you want to put this stuff for each layer, then it becomes a little bit easier. So yeah, this would be the first layer, which would be like the green layer that we see in the picture here. It says Rocky Mountains. And then the next layer would kind of fill up the area here between the trees and the cabin, and then the other layer would be the wolf and the trees, and then so on and so forth. So that's kind of how we're going to organize this. It's not a hard, fast rule, but I just found it kind of makes sense to me when we do this. So the first thing we're going to end up doing, we're just going to kind of replicate what I made, and we'll start off with green. So we'll go ahead and we'll choose green, and we'll hold down our shift, and we'll make our circle. And since we have it set to inches, let's just make it 9 inches. And we'll do the same thing there, make that 9 inches, and we'll lock that. And now what we'll end up doing is we want to kind of mimic the shape that we have. So on the top of the circle, we want to have a slimmer border, and then down at the bottom we want to have a thicker to kind of give it a little bit of aesthetic. So now that we have our shape and that's selected, what we'll end up doing is going here to our offset. So when we do our offset, we can do an outward and inward. It doesn't really matter. We'll just do inward because we want our outside shape. We know what that is, being 9 inches. So what we could end up doing is an offset of, I don't know, you could put like 0.7. Let's go ahead and do that. And so there's our border. But we want it to be a little bit thinner at the top, so we'll just go ahead and select this, and we can just move that up and that will that'll work there. So that way it's a little bit more interesting than just kind of a round border. That's kind of boring. So once we've got that, what I found is a good way to do this is to just kind of eyeball it and make sure you're good. And we'll select both of those. We'll hit Command C for copy, and then we'll do Command V for paste. And we'll go down here, and that will be another layer. I could also do the right click where I could say copy, and I could come down here and right click and do paste, and that would be another layer. So basically on our picture, we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 layers. If you wanted to do that, you could do 4 layers. So we'll do that, and then we'll just do one more for grins and see if we use that. The one in the very back layer could be just a solid sheet, and that could be like the total black or the background that you have there. But we're going to go down here and we're going to start off with this one here being the grass. And so now what we'll end up doing is you can do a search on the internet and you can find some grass. I'm going over here to my art library where I found some grass, and we're going to add this. We'll just kind of drag this in here, and boom, there's our grass. Now again, we want to try to get this about that bottom fourth. So if you're thinking, okay, here's about half, so we're thinking about right along this line here is where we want our grass. So we can just go ahead and pull this grass over, and we can make it big. I think that will be good there. And that will be in the forefront. That'll give us enough, I think that looks good. That'll give us enough area to where we could put the cabin. This will definitely give us enough room to where we could put 1 or 2 lines of text. If you wanted to do just 1 line of text, you could kind of bring this down like that. But I think that'll work. So now that we have this selected, we'll go ahead and press Shift, and we will select the inner line there. And you can do your Boolean functions over here on the left. But what I found is hit Control B, and you come up with your Boolean assistant. And you could go through, and as you hover over, it will give you a preview of what that function will do. So, boom, that looks like that is what we want. Subtract B from A, and there it is. So if we go ahead and click on this, now all of this, we want to get rid of this little like smile down here. So we're going to go up to the top, and we're going to hit Ungroup. And now we can click on this part here, just hit delete. And what we can end up doing is going on some of these little shapes here that are, I guess you could leave them there. I mean, they're not going to hurt anything. They will cut through some of these, like that one. We don't need that one. And again, depending on how small it is and the size of your piece of diorama, multi-layered diorama will make a difference. So we're just going to go ahead and we'll green box this, and then we will make that, and then we'll just go ahead and we'll hit green for this. And then what we could end up doing is grouping all these together. And then if we go ahead and hit fill, boom, there's our grass. So let's go through and we'll do some text. And let's make the text, what's a real good something? I guess we could do, now I want to save the black for something else. Let's just go down here to 28. So we'll click off of that, we'll click our text, and we'll put mountain time. And we'll just hit 28. Oh, we got to select it first, and then we'll hit 28. And we'll just kind of make this bigger. We'll drag this in here. We'll make that a fill. And then you could change your font to whatever you want. That looks kind of cool, I think. And we could just kind of put that right there. Mountain time. You could put a family name in there. You could do all kinds of neat stuff. So that is going to be our front layer. You can hear the hammer drill that they're using. And now we're going to go and we'll do the next one. So the next one, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to make this red. And we'll make that. And we'll make this red as well, and that'll be a line. And now what we want to end up doing is we want to put some ground in there. So you could just draw a line across here and do that, but what I found is, since I'm lazy, and I have a variety of mountains and land right here, so what I ended up doing is probably just picking one of these that's kind of flat-ish, and with not too many points on it. So we will pick this one here, and I think since that is way okay. And so now what we end up doing is we can see that like about right there, and we want to have it up about that next fourth. So we're just kind of look at this, and we'll kind of drag this out a little bit. And the cool thing is we can pull this out and we can get it to look a little bit more flat. So I think that'll work. So we're going to come in here. We'll select the red circle there. Again, we'll do Control B. We'll do that subtract. And we'll click that again. We'll ungroup. We'll grab that little smiley, bring that off of there. And then what we'll end up doing is, just to see where this lays, is we can select both of these and we can bring it in. You can kind of do like bring it over to make sure that your land is going to be visible. What I found when I first started doing this is that I had everything stacked on top of each other and I had to go back and forth and back and forth. So this is a little preview to see if where your layer, the next layer that's going behind the first one, is actually going to look good, and I think that will. So now what we want to do, amidst the hammer drills, we want to add a couple of trees in here, and we will drag this tree in here, and we're going to trace that because it's an image, so we'll just do that. So we've got an image there. I kind of rotate it a little bit. We'll kind of do something like that. And then we'll bring in another tree. So we'll do that, and we'll also trace image on that. And we're good to go. We can kind of bring that in there. And we want to leave a little bit of space here in the middle to where our next layer is going to have some type of animal, the wolf, the bear, the moose, you know, the elk, or whatever it is. So we're just going to go ahead and go here. We'll just select these two. We'll do our select this, and then we will do our Control B and do the same thing there, and the same thing, select, shift, select the tree, Control B for Boolean. Oops, that's not what we want. That's what we want. That's why I like that Boolean assistant, is because you can kind of make corrections faster than with the ones on the side, and I can't keep track of them. Okay, so now that we've got that, we want to bring our house or cabin into play. So we've got some houses, and I've got a little cabin that I want to bring into here, and that's what we want with that. And with this, we can resize this, and you can face the cabin either in that direction, which I thought it was okay, but we want to flip it in the other direction. So we'll go up top here, and we'll click it over. And we'll kind of bring that into right there. Kind of bring it a little bit of depth there. And with this, what we're going to end up doing, actually we're going to have to bring this to the side because we need to do an outline of this. So, how did I end up doing that? Oh yeah, I did the offset. So we select our item, we'll go to offset, and we want to do an offset in the outward direction, and that's obviously way too big. So So we'll bring it down to there, and maybe 0, 2. That looks pretty good. That'll work. So we'll go ahead and hit that. And that's not what I want to do. So I want to select that offset. And then what we'll end up doing is dragging this out of the way. Now this is going to be interesting because you got all this stuff on the inside and we don't want that. So what we're going to have to do is we'll select this, we'll hit ungroup, and then what we can end up doing is going through and we can just selecting all this stuff that we don't want and get rid of that because all we want is the outline. So we got to do a little bit of cleanup here, which isn't too bad. And the other interesting thing here, you could just do the outline, but the thing that I want to end up doing is engraving the house picture, that graphic, onto this area here. So that way we get a little different type of look. And I think we can get rid of that, we can get rid of that. And we got some little stuff there, and I think we're good to go. So if we go ahead and click on, and we're good. So now we'll drag this into our area of where we want our house at. And I want to try to bring this, maybe, I think that'll be good right there. But I want this bottom area to be able to connect, and I think that'll work. So once we've got that, we'll click on to the red here, and again, we'll bring up our Boolean assistant, and boom, we're good to go. Now we do have some little stragglers there. Oops. We have some little stragglers, so we will have to ungroup and do that. You could leave those there. I just want to get rid of that there. And I think we are good to go. So we select all that and we'll group. And then basically with this house is we select this and this will get cut out. And what we can end up doing is actually putting this in there. And let's make this blue, and we could go ahead and make that a fill. And so that will be engraved on that section there. So we're just going to pull that off to the side for now, and we can deal with that when we do our layers. So now on to the next one is going to be our wolf. So with that, we'll select all these and we'll make it black. And we will go down, we're going to need some land, so we're going to go back down to our mountains. And we're just going to grab something that's nice and easy. Nothing crazy. I don't know, how about that? I'll make that about 4. And we can drag this out a little bit. And we can kind of do something like that. Or we could end up having a little bit of, yeah, let's do it this way. And again, what we want to end up doing is we want to have this mountain or this layer where the land is going to be right down here. So again, what we could end up doing is doing a little bit of a preview. And we can see that we've got the land there. And I don't know, that looks good enough for government work. So let's go ahead and run with that. And so once we've done that, we'll connect that. We'll select this one here. We'll do our Boolean, and we're good to go on that. Still selected, we'll ungroup it. We'll get rid of this big smiley face portion there. And I think that'll work out. So the next thing we want to end up doing is putting our animal in there. So we could do like a moose. That'd be interesting. Let's go ahead and do a moose. And nope, come here, Mr. Moose. Let's flip him around, put him in the background, something like that. And kind of zoom in here. We can end up doing is kind of changing things around a little bit, so we got a more recognizable type of thing here. And I think that'll work. So again, what we'll do is we'll just grab all this stuff together and we will pull this down over here to see if that's a good placement. And I think that is. So the moose is you're gonna have the cabin, you're gonna have the moose in the background or the animal. We'll throw a couple of trees in there alongside there as well, and we should be good. So we'll just select both of these. I'll do our Boolean X thing here, boom, and there we go. The other thing we want to do is we want to throw in some trees. So we've got some trees, and let's say we're going to pull, let's pull these trees in here. And those are grouped together, so we'll ungroup them. Ungroup, there we go. And we'll select this one. We'll shrink it down a bit. Put that one about right there. And we could do this one. Let's just kind of make him a little bit. And again, to do kind of a preview, we can select all of these, bring them back over, and we can see what that's going to look like. So I think for the tree, this tree here, I think we need to move that a little bit. We could probably make that a little bit smaller to kind of give some more depth or perspective that will be okay. I think that could be all right. It still looks a little off. Maybe we could take this tree and we can move it over. I'll bring this down. I think it'll work. That's good enough. Good enough for government work. So again, what we'll do is we'll select both of those. We'll do our control, and we're good there. Same thing, we'll hit both of those, do our control B, and we're good with that. So now that this is all done, this will be our black layer, and we'll group this all together, and we'll just fill that in with black. And we should probably do the same with this. So we'll do all that, that's already grouped, we'll do that with the fill, and then we can see how this is coming together. Now, the other one that we have in the background is we've got some more trees and we've got the mountain in the background. So since we got a few more trees, let's see, what other trees do we got? So we can put this in here and we're going to make this, let's make this, because we got trees and then we have mountains way in the background. So we'll just go ahead and make this all orange as a line. And now we kind of want to get a look at where we want this as far as some trees. And we kind of want to keep it about probably just below the moose's neck there is where we want some land. And we can see that on this land it kind of goes up and then it goes down. So we want to try to do the opposite to kind of give some contrast. So with that, we'll go back to our mountains and we can find something that will be higher on one side than the other. And I don't know, let's try that one, see what happens. And we shall drag this out like so. Maybe make this a little bit bigger and drag this over. And again, we'll kind of do a little preview here and we can see where that's at. So we got maybe bring it up just a little bit more. probably about right there. And then we can do our tree. And let's see what that will look like. So we'll get it about right there. I think that'll look pretty good. Yeah, let's run with that. So now we've got our mountain, and that's a fill, but we want to make this got to make that orange. So let's do that. And we've got that selected. We'll select the inner circle. Again, we'll do our Control B and there. So that looks good. Ungroup. Select that, get that out of there. And now we can go in here and we can add our little tree. So in the background, we kind of want to have maybe a tree, because you can see we've got a tree here, tree here. This one's in the middle, so maybe, we could probably pull this one about right there. And then another one maybe over here. So let's go ahead and we'll shoot for that. And we got to do the trace image on this one. So I think that'll work out. So select that and that. Do our Boolean stuff there, which is good to go. And we will throw in another tree. Let's find another tree. And what kind of trees do we end up having? We already got a couple of those. We could throw in another, let's throw in another one of these. And again, we'll have to trace that image. And it should be noted that when you do your images, you can import an image from your like down here in the bottom it says import graphic from project. So if you drug in a picture into this, you could do the trace image, then you could save that by importing the graphic from the project into your library of wherever you want that to be. So now we're kind of see where we would want this. I think that will be, just kind of make that one a little bit smaller. Maybe about right there. And so we will select those two. Again, we'll do our Boolean and we're good to go there. And maybe let's throw in one more tree because I like trees. So you get that. And I'll make this one a little bit like that. Kind of back up here to kind of get a sense of what we've got. I think that'll be okay. Well, maybe we could put it over here. Well, we kind of already have one close to there, so we could put this and put it right there and see how that looks. So again, it's just kind of playing around with what we got and seeing what works, what would look good. But it does save you some time by doing this, by organizing your frame by either thirds or fourths. Just kind of get a diagram so that way you can keep the layers separate, and it seems to work out pretty well. Maybe there's another way of doing it, I'm not sure, but if you do know, then let me know. So we'll do that. We'll group all these together. We will make this a fill. And now the last one in the background is going to be the mountaintop. And that is going to be, let's make that this here. And we're going to go back to our mountains. And this one we want, my kidling. And we will make that one the same color. And we want to try to make this probably about right there. And we'll kind of bring this down and see how that looks. I think that'll work. So I'm happy with that. So again, we'll select the mountain. We could just select that and there. Do our Boolean thing here, which is that one there. We'll ungroup it, bring that, and what we're going to end up doing is taking all of this and group it together. And we'll make that a fill. And there is our layers. So we'll just go ahead and we'll kind of put this in here. So now what we can end up doing is actually stacking this, and to kind of get a preview, excuse me, we'll go ahead and we'll select all these, we'll copy them, we'll paste them over here, and we will bring this, because we have to change the order, just so that way we can see what's going on. So we'll have to go over here. This is that one there, so we want to bring that and bring it forward. As you can see, that looks pretty close. We'll bring this one up. That will have to come down as well. So that way we got the right. This is just for viewing. It doesn't have anything to do with the cutting or how the laser is going to take a look at all this. Let's group all these together. And we'll bring this one up. So I'll have to do the same thing. Oh, well, I need to ungroup that. Sorry about that, folks. So that one will go there. Our little house is going to be like the little house on the prairie. We need to group all those together. We'll bring that up. Kind of zoom in here to get a little bit closer. Kind of stack this a little bit better so you can get an idea of what's going on. And then we'll bring the house. That has got to come down because we can actually have that engraved. And then our last one here is we want to bring that one down. And the same thing with that lettering. Now this is just to see what it looks like when it's all stacked together. And basically, there we have it. So there is, with some minor tweaks, you need to line everything. But this will give you a good idea of what this multi-layered graphic could be. And even on the very back, you could make another one of these where it's just there is no color or anything, and that would be just the solid backing. So it kind of depends on what you want to do with that. But basically, yeah, you could end up doing something like this, and you have the different layers, the grass, the text. Next layer would be the ground, the two red trees, and the cabin, and then you could actually have the blue being engraved on that as well. Then we have the black, which has the trees and the moose, and then we have a couple other trees back there. Maybe I could have put another small tree or something back there, or maybe even one there. But that's the great thing about layers, is that when you look at it, it all comes together, but you've got that depth of field, and so it looks really cool. And then the mountain in the background. Yeah, so that's some pretty wild stuff that you could end up doing, and that's what I found that works out well so far. I imagine there could be a different way in which you could, do this type of graphic. And let me kind of zoom in here, and we'll get the. Let me straighten all this out maybe a little bit. And we'll get a picture of this and show you what we ended up doing. And boom, there it is. So yeah, we ended up doing a multiple layered diorama, a layered engraving on, what do we have, like 4 or 5? What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 layers, and then if you had one on the very back, that would be 6 layers. So yeah, it ends up. This can be some pretty cool stuff that you can do with Lightburn, and again, it just takes a little bit of trial and error to be able to see what's going on, creating the different layers. And like I said, if you organize them in such a way by splitting up your frame shape into like thirds or fourths or fifths or something like that, for me, it makes more sense because I have a better time of tracking what goes where and that I can see everything and see the different levels. Because before, just trying to do it in my mind, yeah, it wasn't working at all. So, yeah. And it's easier to do that one at a time and then bring it over the first layer that you did and then do the second and the third. And then ultimately you get your final product there. So yeah, that's the cool thing that we ended up having was that right there, and our little mountain time with the moose going on, and so that is the DIY on how to do all that stuff. So yeah, ended up this was a pretty good little exercise for Lightburn because you're learning a lot of different skills. You can do copy, paste, trace an image, you can resize. You can use the Boolean functions that you have to frame this all out and come up with something that looks really cool. Especially, and then imagine what you could end up doing is you could put mountain time, Colorado's, Rockies, Ozark, whatever mountain range that you want, or you could even customize it with the Wilson family or whatever it is. With this, it could also be a Christmas ornament, and you could throw a picture of Santa in there up by there. Maybe have the Christmas tree with some lights, and you could engrave some lights on a tree here being a Christmas tree or whatever. But yeah, it could be some pretty cool stuff. So anyway, if you liked anything in this video for this DIY, how to make a multi-layered cutout engraving with laser engraving or a CO2 engraver, please like the channel and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And if you're so inclined, you can also buy me a coffee, and I would really appreciate that. We have these people over here, which ended up, which are these people. They have bought me a coffee. They are awesome, and I have much respect for them. And if you want to buy me a coffee, click the link down below. I would really appreciate that. All funds that come from that go back into the channel to do projects, buy material. And right now what I'm doing is I'm looking at a couple of larger lasers. And so we'll be taking a look at that. And yeah, we'll do material testing. We'll be doing more lessons kind of like this, different art projects. Because I found that, just like anybody else that gets into laser engraving, is the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, where'd you get that file? That's usually the thing. Where did you get that file? And you can buy files, but when you get down to it, and I almost bought a file that was similar to this. Was almost similar to this, and I was like, wait a second, let me give it a shot. Let me try and see if I can make this in Lightburn because, it looks a little bit complicated, but it's not that complicated in my opinion. It just takes some time and learning how to do it. And what I found is that I saved like $3 and some odd cents for the file that I was going to buy versus doing something like this where I could ended up just, doing this on my own, playing around. And now I'm not limited to just having a circle nature multi-layered thing here that we got going on. I could make this into a square. I could make it into a rectangle. I could make it into whatever shape I want, and I could do a multi-layer, which is wild if you think about it. You could also do multi-layer where you see like the picture of a bear. Do I have bears? I don't know if I have bears. Do I have bears? Bears. Well, I kind of got a bear. Let's go back. I'm rambling now. So if you want to go ahead and take off, you can. I won't hold that against you. But here we have a bear. And if we bring this into the project, and what we could end up doing is that could be our shape. And you've seen the ones where it has the outline of the animal or the bear or whatever, and then on the inside you have multiple layers. So you've got, landscape and trees and nature and, some other bears, maybe a wolf in there. some mountains in the background. You could do that exact same thing with this. So just as an example, let's say we want to do this bear, Control C for copy, Control B for paste. And what we could end up doing is going back to our mountains. And let's say we just want to do a little bit of a mountain thing here. And yeah, let's just do this. And with that, of course, it's going to have to be set to line. We'll make this about 4. And then so now we could drag this out. And we could bring this in here into where, I don't know, that looks all right, I think. Then you could hit select, and both of those, you could do your Boolean thing. We don't want that one, we don't want that one. I'm gonna have to do something a little bit different here, because I'm gonna have to bring this into there. But basically it's going to be kind of the same thing. You're going to create your different layers on this, and you could do the same thing. So we'd have to change some stuff up in there. Oh, we'd have to do offsets, that's why. Duh. Duh. So we could do our offset, and let's say what, 0.25 inches, and we're going to do it inward. So we got that, and then we could go ahead and we could bring in our mountain, and then what we could end up doing is the same thing. We could start doing our layers and have multiple layers of this. Like I said, the other thing you could end up doing is also doing your own line work. So I could just, instead of using pictures, I could end up doing is just drawing and creating some, some different textures and stuff like that, and I could add that into as part of the layer. So with that, I think what I could end up doing is take the scissors, I could get rid of that there, like so, and then I'll group all of this together, and boom, that would be the layer. So we could get rid of this one here, and then that would be our first layer. So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of cool stuff that you could end up doing. Again, we could copy that and bring that down here, and we could do our next layer after that. So yeah, you could end up the next layer after this, you could have some mountains, you could maybe have some birds flying up in there, the wolf, the whatever animals, all within these areas of different layers, and you could really come out with some really cool stuff. So yeah, a little bit more complicated, you would think, but it's not that complicated once you start playing with it, and it ends up, it's kind of cool, because then your creative juices start going, and you're like, yeah, this isn't really as hard as I thought it was. And the more you practice, the more intricate and ornate designs that you start doing. And so, case in point, let's go back to Lightburn. I'll show you some of the stuff that I ended up doing, like recent projects. Let's see. Money box, Velvet Viking, Wilson sign. No, that's not it. That's not it. Universal, no. Knife, military name plaque. I wonder if that was it. Yeah, I'll just discard all that. Okay, for you wish to switch that device? No, we'll just bring this in here. And so I've done some other things in here to where you could do some nameplates and start doing layering and stuff like that, and it ends up being kind of cool. What was the other one I wanted to end up? It was, let's take a look. Round slate, Celtic welcome, that's not it. It was the military name plaque, no. Money box soldiers, no. Wolf cabin multi-layered, that's the one we just did. Wilson sign. Is a name plaque or military plaque? What is a military name plaque? No. Don't tell me I messed that one up. Could be Contact, Viking, Purge, Ragged, Whiskey, Wine, Coaster, Wilson sign. Was it that one? I don't think it was that one. Yeah, discard that, whatever. So that's another one I was working on, having multiple layers. So something like that. That's not the one I was looking for. I was looking for the, maybe it's an iCloud. Put it onto the cloud maybe, or is this the same stuff? Celtic, welcome, blah, 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 blah. Kerf knife etching, military name plaque. I wonder if that was it? No, that's not it. Kind of like that. No, that's not it either. Well, anyway, maybe I need to make a video on that. I had one where I had the eagle. That's what it was. It was the eagle. Now I got to see if I can find this thing. What was it? The eagle. Eagle layered plaque. There it is. So let's go back here. Eagle layered plaque. Yeah, we'll discard that one. No. And this one ended up being, and I did a video on this, and I actually printed it out on my super tiny laser engraver. But basically what we ended up doing is having this in the background, and then we did this layer here, and then this layer with the soldiers, and then we ended up having, you know, the United States Army emblem on the front. And yeah, so I've been working on that. Of course, the helicopters would be cut out. But yeah, that would look really cool. And I think, I can't wait till I get a larger laser. And again, the same thing. Even though this looks complicated, it's all the same thing. You know, you just do the outline, the offset, and boom, you run with it. And add your shapes, do the Boolean function, and you know, choose which one you want, and you could end up doing all the same stuff. So yeah, very cool stuff on what you could end up doing here. And I don't have all those layered out, but yeah, there's another version I was working on, you know, some different soldiers and stuff, Humvee with a guy in there. So yeah, I was working out on some different things, but yeah, it's some cool stuff, and I really enjoy it. So yeah, doing the layered stuff, it seems daunting at first, but once you start slow, start with simple shapes, simple colors, shapes and colors. That's what it's all about. And then as you master those things in Lightburn, then you move up to more complicated designs, and then more layers, and then the layouts on how these are going to look, and then add engravings onto these things as well. And then you can also do things where, you know, you do all your engraving, and then you do your cuts, and then, yeah, it just ends up as being cool. So anyway, that's what we got going. Excuse me, that's what we got going on, and I am starving, so I got to finish the rest of my shake, and we're going to go out and do something. But I just wanted to hit this up and show you how doing layered projects is not as hard as you think. Just takes a little bit of planning and a little bit of, you know, taking a look at your thing here where you got split it into areas, visible areas, and that's helped me make what we just did, and I think it turned out kind of well. If you have any tips or suggestions on how to do this in a way that is simpler, faster, quicker, more efficient, whatever it is, put that in the comment section down below, and I would really like to read that information. Or if you have video links of YouTube videos where people do this, I'd love to eat that stuff up as well. So with that, it is almost Christmas. It is the 24th of December here in Korea, and so that means it's probably the 23rd in the United States. So a couple days until the big fat man comes down the chimney. Leave him some whiskey and a cigar, or cookies and milk, or whatever it is, you know, steak and eggs or whatever. And hope you have a good holiday, and we will see you on the next video. Peace. Good stuff.